The last time we were together, we were all somewhat spoken to harshly about the sewer back up Street and Lucinda, that area of town, and constituents saying that sump pumps were a lot of the problem. Terry wasn't dealing with that. Anyway, where are we at with any thoughts about moving forward and looking into or investigating anything about that situation? Because I think our constituents do need.
Soon after that, I sent out our sump pump ordinance, so hopefully you guys got that. That's something that we need to continue having conversations about. Between now and then, I had conversations with our engineers, and we're actually going to do 4 phases of our sewer cleaning and cammering, so hopefully that helps us identify where some non-sump pump water is getting into the system. Also, if there's a house that might have 2 lines from their footing drains or something, we might be able to identify those. One thing I think that we could do and would like to do is get our Public Works subcommittee from City Council and meet with Jack and Josh and maybe our engineers and sit down and talk about some of the options. So I think that's Chuck and Randy. So if you'd be interested in
about
that.
monitoring sump pump hookups and where they're putting it in, so on. Is there discussion about that?
And right now, the ordinance is when it changes hands, so whenever a house is sold, it would be inspected then, or if there is a known issue in the area, which we could do up there. So otherwise, if we're going across the whole town, I don't know if we want to, it's been looked at before, but set a fee, and it's on that first bill at a higher rate. People can call in and, get their house inspected for us to see if it is going into the sanitary sewer, if it's piped outside or wherever. And then they would get that fee taken off. And that's just a way of helping us get into the house to inspect that. So
Part of the issue or situation is that we can only get people's house with their cooperation. Of course, we just can't go in there and inspect people's houses without their permission, basically, I think.
Well, the last official meeting that I was part of, there was supposed to be a meeting with our city attorney soon after that to determine how we could, and if we could, and under what set of circumstances we could get into those houses. And I've not heard any official response.
We talked to Dewey a little bit about that, and it's on our books, and we can do it. It's just a matter of getting into the house, I think.
So we have ordinances on the books that give us the right to go in and inspect, and we're just not enforcing it.
I believe so.
Okay.
But can we go in without people's permission, I guess is the question.
That's going to kind of be the crux of the whole thing is, it might be working with the plumbers and the water department of whenever they're in a house, check it out for us and let the homeowner know what's going on or try and help them fix that. And also, another thing we could look at is our stormwater fee. Right now, that's at $3, and that money helps us do the cammering and jetting and cleaning of the lines. And also, we've done a few stormwater projects where we put a line from the storm sewer to the house for the sump pump, if they don't have that. I think we've also done that in an area where, and jump in if you want to, but like at an intersection or something, if it's going to the street in the winter and causing a problem with ice in the street or something like that, then we would go in and do that too. But I think Boone has done a deal where they did a project in a neighborhood or something, getting the sump pump lines to the house and taking care of some of those issues. So that's something I'll be looking at too.
My recollection is when they did the Second Street sewer, I think they tapped any of them into the storm sewer. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Ours goes into a dedicated sump line, which then dumps into this
Storm sewer.
Projects like that. And I know when we're doing our new developments that we just put that in. So Sun-Am has a sump pump line, a dedicated line to every house. So every little bit like that helps.
It helps.
Which certainly makes sense, but I don't think we can ignore the current residents who have a significant amount of backup. I think we need to be proactive on that side of it.
That's part of our cammering deal, is that helps us identify some of those deals, and also just, also the infiltration that we get from other areas too. And here's Jack.
Just real quick, because that sub pumps is, it's horrible. As an example, I went up to a house the other day, and it was a new owner, and she called and said that our sewer was backing up in her house. So I ran up there, and 9 times out of 10 this does not happen, but her line ran right out to the manhole, and there was a brand new street cut there. And I remember doing that line. I remember us busting the street out. So I didn't know. I popped the manhole off, and our line was fine. We had a serious grease issue. She'd been dumping grease down her sewer line, and so when you popped open the manhole, you could look down and see her line, and there was all this grease plugging it. And so I brought her out and I showed it to her, and I was trying to explain to her about grease, and she says, "No, it's coming up in my house right now." And I said, "Okay." So she wanted to take me down the basement. So we went down there, and her sub pump was tied into the sanitary sewer. Well, the sub pump was kicking on, and then it was pumping it into the sewer. Well, the sewer was plugged, so it was sending it up in 3 different rooms coming out of floor drains. So I looked on the wall, and here was the old trustworthy valve that, for some reason, back in the day, that was the big thing. Apparently, the city was allowing them to tie it into the sanitary for the winter months, so it wasn't icing up the streets. And then in the summer months, they were asked to turn it back to flood, take it outside. Well, she didn't know what that was for. Well, I flipped that over and told her, "Okay, you're not going to have any more water coming up, but, we don't want this hooked up like this. We want it to go outside." And I tried explaining that to her, and most of the folks around town don't understand that. They see a valve there if they're plumbed up like that, but they don't know what that valve is. And then when you explain that to them, and I had another gentleman that he got a bunch of water, and he was bragging that he had a sub pump that could continuously pump 4,000 gallons of water an hour out of his basement if he needed it that bad. And so we started discussing that, and I told him, I said, take that. And when he said that, he backed up and realized what he just told me, that he could pump 4,000 gallons of water into the sanitary, and that's one house. And so we started discussing that, and then he backed up and kind of changed his tune a little bit. But as an example, if you take one house and say it does 2,000 gallons an hour of water, that's just one house. You take that over a 24-hour period, and after you get a big 3-4 inch rain, and it does that for 3-4 days, that's one house dumping in thousands of gallons of water. And so Josh and I have sat down. Josh sent out a deal on, it's called Shop Talk. It's through all the other communities. You can ask questions, and he sent out a sub pump one, and then I got on. I knew Boone had done a big project. Woodward's done some stuff, and some of the other smaller communities around us. And so we were just asking questions. How do you tackle it? And it's a big headache. The long and short of it is we can get in there and get them taken off of the sanitary, but then some people, the lots are so small that now you got to get it out away from your house. If you don't, you're just recirculating it. And so people call and say, "Well, my sub pump never stops running, and I don't have a backyard, I don't have a side yard, it's flooding my neighbor." Then the neighbor's calling, and he's mad because his grass is always wet. So we're going to have to sit down, I think, and really, put our heads together and study it, what we want to come up with. Do we want to run it to the street? We've got areas, I'll give you a real good example. When you're going up Warford next time, look at 9th and Warford. A homeowner had Midwest Basement come in. They waterproofed their whole basement, put in a sub pump system. There's no storm sewer. The closest storm sewer is a block away to the north, and so it's dumping out. First he was dumping it out into the backyard, and there's no lots between him and his neighbor. The neighbor has a daycare. Now her backyard was wet and muddy. So she was mad. What are we going to do? So I told him, I said, well, for now, to cure that problem, get it out to the street, and we'll look at it after that. Then the neighbors are at peace with each other. She can have her daycare going without the kids not being able to play outside. And but now, here we are. This water's in the street, and it runs a couple blocks down and turns, and it ends up running 3 blocks out of the way to get to a storm sewer. And so now there's water there all the time, and as you know, it soaks into the streets, and then the curb line gets soaked, and then the street's breaking up. So there's no easy answer for it all, but we would love to sit down, because
just like you guys, we all hate, when that rain happened, I was in Minnesota that week, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, my phone was ringing, and I thought, what is going on? And so, it's not fun talking to anybody on that. And everybody understands it, and right now it's fresh, because everybody, not everybody, but most people in town had damage, and now they would like to see something happen, you know. But if it dries out here, and then for the next 2 years we don't have any rain, nobody cares. Until we get that 5-inch rain and the system's overloaded, and now everybody's mad at us again. So, but you know, we would love to sit down and come up with a plan and try to do what we can, and we are going to, as Sven said, we're cameraing a big area that was a big issue, and I'm pretty sure we're going to find 2 lines at every house. We're going to find footing drains. We're going to find a sanitary line, and then that's a whole other breed of a problem, because the footing drains are 9 foot in the ground, and they come out, and storm sewers are never that deep. So we've got them that deep in a few areas, but not very many areas. So now you've got to basically have like a sub pump pit outside to pump that up to get it, you know, up to a storm sewer that's at a higher elevation. So I don't know. There's a lot of issues there, but we would be more than happy to sit down with you guys and try to throw heads together. We've got emails from Boone and 3 or 4 other communities with what they do, and of course some of the bigger communities, you know, they've got money and they go in and fix it for the homeowner, and we definitely don't have that option. I mean, I wish we did, but we don't have that leisure to come in and, you know, cure that problem. One more thing. Big thing I know a lot of folks have done, and they've hired the local plumbers, and they put a backflow preventer in, and it goes right on the outside of your house. It's in your sanitary line, and then when the sanitary gets overwhelmed and starts backing up, it's a flapper in there, and it just shuts itself, and that stops the water from coming back in. And I know one of our previous council members, Wilford Roberts, said he was the only house in his neighborhood that did not have any water. Everybody else had 2 to 3 foot, and he thinks it's because of this backflow preventer. It shut down and stopped, and he didn't have a drop. So, I don't know. A lot of different things there.
Yeah, and Jack, thank you for...
Yes.
Secondly, I know it's a major situation and a complicated situation.
It is.
But I do, you know, personally, none of the problems you alluded to there compare with having 6 foot of raw sewage in my
Right.
Which I did not have, but we had people that did, you know, and so I think we need to keep it on the front burner.
Yes.
To it, and we need to work hard at trying to figure out some solutions.
Well, and just a couple houses away from you, a city employee he had 3 foot in his basement.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yes.
I can't imagine having 6 foot of raw sewage in my basement.
Well, like you indicated, you know, it's fresh in everybody's mind, ours and certain citizens' minds, and now it's time to sit down, I think, like Finn discussed, and kind of put a plan together. It's obviously multifaceted. There's no one solution and no easy solution, but we still need to attack.
Right. Yeah, I agree 100%.
So I think now is the time with this.
Yes, it's fresh in everybody's minds.
So,
Well, as mentioned, if we've got a subcommittee, that committee should probably get together and get on this fairly soon.
yeah, subcommittee,
And I sure don't want to take anything away from the sump pump discussion or the raw sewage in somebody's basement, but, and correct me if I'm wrong, there is a point at which, unless your basement has some sort of protection, you aren't going to stop the water from coming in.
Right.
In the seams and so forth.
Exactly.
It's called hyperbolic.
Yes.
Something like that, anyway. The pressure gets so great that your basement will not prevent it. So
You bet.
I hope people realize that there's an issue there. We can't do anything about it.
Right, well, and that's the one thing that's a good point, and we hear it from folks, and not just whether it's this, but, you know, all of this town, you know, only in Perry. Well, that's not the case at all. This is everywhere. I have a family member in Dallas Center, brand new house, brand new development, all brand new sewer lines. She had 4 foot of water in her basement. So it's not just a Perry problem. This is, you know, it doesn't matter where you're at. When you get rains like that, you flood the system like that, it's not made to handle it. So.
No. And your sump pumps won't do it.
No.
Won't do anything with that.
Right.
Get it out of the basement.
Right.
And I think even I want to say I heard a couple of houses up on North 2nd Street got water, even with all the work we did up there.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I heard from a couple of
you know,
people too.
it's tough.
Yeah.
It's always a matter of just chasing. It was just,
It was amazing. It was
a crazy
amazing.
amount of water at once, so.
But if we can try and get some of the things controlled, we would, help ourselves, help the
Address what we can,
homeowners,
Yeah.
and
This, I think that day, correct me if I'm wrong, I want to say we did 12 million gallons at the plant?
14.
14 million.
Yeah, it went from 700,000 to 14 million.
Yeah, so this is just one piece of the puzzle that we're dealing with. And, we're constantly trying to find stuff, and whenever they camera, they come back with a long list of stuff we need to fix, so it's just kind of a constant battle. And the stormwater discharge fee does really help with that. That's how we pay for all that stuff, so.
Yes,
That's a
it
big
is.
deal.
And we have ran up, we've had, 3, 4, 5 houses in a row that all had sub pumps, and we've been able to go down and grab out at the corner and run a 4-inch, depending on how many houses we got, four is the smallest. We ran 4 and we ran 6-inch lines up, and we've ran it all the way to their house. Just, that's part of our deal. Let's get it out of the street, let's get it out of the sanitary. It's underground, it's out of sight, it's gone, and we haven't had any complaints out of anybody that we've done that for yet, that they've had any problems. Somebody asked, they're not real deep in the ground, they're worried about it freezing, but we haven't had any problems with it freezing or anything, so far it's worked, and it's just something, just keep picking them off and get people to let us come in and, inspect their house and just go from there, I guess.
And I think they're gonna do that Lucinda 8th Street area first when they're doing the inspection, so I wanna say I hope they find something, but I also hope they don't find it. So we'll see how that goes, so.
Other questions for Sven? Mayor, council comments, and oddly enough, on the comments that I wanted to mention tonight, one was the sump pumps, and there's only a couple things I want to say about that, and that is that I'm always talking about these meetings I attend where there are a lot of other mayors from other cities, and I think virtually no city was untouched that got the volume of water that we got. After you reach a certain volume of water, there's going to be problems, I think, no matter how well you've addressed this. But the other thing that I wanted to mention is it goes back to the intent of the ordinance for sump pumps. And in fact, we always talk about rain when it rains. And I was on the council the last time that, when the sump pump ordinance was revisited and updated and a little more teeth put into the ordinance. But really, with all our good intentions back then, the one thing that we didn't have is a means for inspection and enforcement of the sump pump ordinance. The ordinance itself, I think, says it pretty well. I mean, it is definitely against the ordinance to run your sump pump into a sanitary sewer. I think there are two components that need to be addressed. One is education, because I think there are a lot of citizens out there that don't realize that or understand it, and there may be citizens out there that really don't know where their sump pump pumps to. And so we need some education, and we also probably need some enforcement. And as with everything with the city, we also need a means to pay for whatever work we have to put in it. So I think three things we have to address are the economics, the education, and the actual inspections, how we're going to get in to do it. So that's what I had to say about sump pumps. And